Well, welcome to a very special episode of Heilman and Haver. We are excited today to be joined by Shaunyce Omar, and we absolutely love the show Fannie that we saw at the Seattle Rep last month, and we're really excited to talk to Shaunyce about her role in Fannie as the understudy to Faye Butler, who Greg and I saw when we attended the show, and just a very powerful show, a very poignant show, and a very timely show. So Shaunyce, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
We want to just give our listeners and viewers a little background. So Shaunyce's, obviously, her most recent performance credit was as Fannie Lou Hamer, as the understudy to Faye Butler at the Seattle Rep. And her previous Seattle Rep credits include Nina Simone for Women, As You Like It, and Shout Sister Shout. She's also appeared on stage in Wedding Band, Hairspray, Chicago, Pajama Game, and Rejoice. And her TV and film credits include The Librarians, Last Seen in Idaho, and Portal Runner. And Shaunyce's voice can also be heard as the character Madison Grant in the State of Decay Lifeline video game.
Mm-hmm. And Shaunice is the recipient of 2 Gregory, a Footlight, a Broadway World, and the Fifth Avenue Theater Subscribers' Choice Awards. In addition to stage and screen work, Omar is a teaching artist and has taught in both public and private schools, arts organizations, and overseas as a master sensei of gospel music in Japan. She holds a BA degree in theater from Southern University and A&M College. And she joins us from her home in Seattle.
Quite a resume.
Truthfully, I'm in the dressing room at the Rep.
She joins us from the dressing room at the Rep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So I have a quick question for you. I know this isn't on topic with Fannie or anything. The Librarians. What did you do? I love The Librarians. I was so sad to see that go. What role did you have in The Librarians?
I was a guest feature, and it was the first season, the very first season, I think episode 3. And I was a pedestrian walking down the street, and they stopped me to ask a question or directions. And I was already possessed. So it was cute.
Well, I'm going to have to go back and rewatch.
Yeah, me too.
But so going on topic, back to Fannie. So one of our favorite parts of Fannie was the music. And along with Fannie, your credits include a lot of singing characters like Mama Morton in Chicago and Motormouth Maybelle in Hairspray. Tell us how it started for you. Did the music come first? Did the acting, vice versa?
That's kind of a trick question. I definitely consider myself as an actress first. And at the same time, I grew up in church. And so I always sang in the choir. That was always a part of my life, even, the little angel choir when you're 3 and 4 years old. So I've always been singing and singing regularly in terms of church. When I turned 12, I think the 7th grade, I joined the Total Experience Gospel Choir, directed and founded by Madam Patronelle Wright. And that experience kind of changed my life in terms of understanding the performance aspect of singing, because we performed a lot. We performed a lot outside of church. Even though we sang in the church, we also sang outside of the church at many events. We traveled all over the country and the world. And so it really, I think, helped fine tune the performer in me. But like I said, I consider myself an actress first. Acting is my first love. That script, that written word is my very first love. And yeah, I've had an opportunity to sing while I'm acting and dance while I'm acting. And I think I focus on the singing and the dancing aspect as storytelling as well. So I'm not there just to sing a song and to sound good. I'm there to help push the storyline along. And oftentimes, like in a musical, my bathroom has a sensor in this in this dressing room. And so it's like a ghost. All of a sudden it'll just, the toilet would just flush. So weird.
It's a high-tech dressing room.
We now have sound effects on our show.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
You're like, what is that? So in that aspect, I always approach a song. Oh, I want the melody to sound good and I want to make sure that I sound good. That's kind of secondary to the storytelling aspect of it. Now, I do practice a lot, so I will sound good. But again, like I said, I want that to be more muscle memory and the storytelling to be the genuine in the moment, what I use to connect with my audience.
One of the aspects of Fannie that I wasn't expecting when we came to the show was the amount of music and dancing and the crowd involvement, which was a lot of fun. It felt kind of like being in church, but a lot of recognizable gospel tunes. Did you have a favorite song that you got to perform in Fannie?
Oh gosh. Well, the 11th hour song, I Know I've Been Changed, is so powerful. And so I love it. And it's a very traumatic part of the show. And so it's really hard. Again, I have to lean on the storytelling in that and know the importance of that. But, oh gosh, I love a lot of them. I like Eye on the Prize. It has a nice like low groove to it. It's super cute. But I also love like a lot of the classics that we sing in church. Like I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on Jesus, or in this case, we say freedom in this particular show.
Right.
A lot of those shows, a lot of those songs that are rooted in the church were also used at civil rights rallies and walks and movements and protests. And so they served, in a sense, a dual purpose. So yeah, they were all familiar. I really like. Oh gosh, Don't Let Nobody Turn You Around. That's a nice one too.
Oh, such a unique aspect, because especially having the live trio, performing with you and getting involved. It was just something very unique. It was really enjoyable to be part of that audience.
Yeah, I love the fact that we have our three musicians and they sing and they respond and they have some lines in there. I call them the Amen Corner.
I like it.
So the nights when the audience don't want to amen, I still have a support system.
I can't imagine the audience not wanting to.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
Well, let me reword that. Maybe it's not that they don't want to, but oftentimes, or traditionally, we have said you go to the theater, you be quiet, you put your hands in your lap, and then you clap at the end of the scene, and then maybe you do some thunderous clapping at the end of the show. And I hate those rules. I can't stand them. I honestly feel like the audience is the very last cast member that joins the show when they come in. And just like I have a job to do up there to help push the storyline along, I feel like the audience is there to experience that, but they also have a job to do to help breathe life into that. Even though this particular show, we break the fourth wall and we say, say amen, somebody. We're talking directly to the audience.
Right.
But even in a show where there is no breaking of the fourth wall and the interaction is just between the characters on stage and the dialogue is just between the characters on stage, we can feel it up there when the audience is gasping and holding their breath and sighing for relief. And, we totally hear those things. We feel it, those giggles, those, those stunned moments, and they really add to the experience of the show. So I always tell people, because I teach as well. I tell my students, when you come to the theater, you're there to experience, not to spectate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, Matt
you spectate at a movie. Right. You sit back, you eat your popcorn, or you have your snack if you're at home, and you holler out to the kids and certain things, and you pause or whatever, and you're drinking, you're doing all the things. But in theater, if you notice, oftentimes we come forward in the seat. Mm-hmm. We're as an audience member, we're engaged in what's happening. And so, like some days audiences come and they're really reluctant to say amen, and Cheryl L. West, who is the playwright of this wonderful musical, she has specifically written room for the audience to be a part of the show. And some people get it and some people don't, Yeah,
well, Matt and I do a little acting over on this side of the water in kind of our local theaters. And in some of the shows we were in, yeah, you're absolutely right. You can tell when the audience is quiet, but even more than that, when they respond, it raises the energy in the show.
Absolutely.
And then, in the review that I wrote for Fannie, I noted a couple of times it was more of a shared experience, because you really do feel like you're along for the ride, that you're right there with Fannie experiencing these good things and these really not so good things. And I think that's really the beauty of this show.
It is. Cheryl West is a masterful genius writer. This is the third production I've done of hers in terms of on its feet, a whole production. And then I've probably done about 6 readings of some of her other productions. So she is really good about pulling the audience in and engaging them so that they feel like they are a part of the story. And I think that's just what makes her script so special, and why they resonate with so many people.
Well, one of our greatest pleasures on this show is talking to folks who work behind the scenes, people that don't get to be heard very often. And your role on this show was as an understudy. And this is the first time that we've had an understudy on the show. And we're fascinated by you're number one. And we're just fascinated by what that role looks like. I mean, we understand a bit, again, from our experience in, just community theater here, but can you explain the job of an understudy to us and maybe what a normal day for you looks like, how you prepare?
Yeah. So this is my second time understudying. And so the first time was really like, whoa, what's happening? It is hard. I'm not going to lie. It's hard because when you're used to, being in a 4-week rehearsal situation and having the attention of the director to kind of help guide you, and you guys are crafting and molding your performance, your story, the character together, and you're getting feedback on things. You're trying all these new things, and the next day you come in, and it's so immediate in terms of your process. As an understudy, you don't necessarily get that. For me, so I'm kind of like a standby understudy. And my first experience was with Shout Sister Shout. And I was there from the very beginning, the rehearsal process. I was learning right along with the lead actress that had the role that I was understudying. So any notes that she got, I was in the room to hear. I had the full 4-week rehearsal situation. I was able to be in music rehearsal with her. So I was able to get tape and, record and things like that. And also document the changes that were being made as rehearsal went, through the process. In this particular situation, this train was already moving. It started in Florida, then it went to Oregon, and then I think they did some scenes. I think it started out as scenes in Washington, D.C., and then it went to the Goodman, and then now it came to Seattle. So the show was already up and running. Now, of course, there was some minor changes throughout all of that time, but it was already going, and Ife already knew what to do. She was already there in terms of performance ready. So we only had 3 days of rehearsal, and it was really just, hey, are we going to tweak anything? For for this new space, I know that Cheryl wanted to look at some things in the script that she wanted to tweak some things because, it's always a work in progress. So we had 3 days of rehearsal and then we went into tech.
Wow.
And, you guys are actors, tech is not for the actor. It's for the tech. That's it. Once tech rolls around, you're on your own. So I was like, whew. It's a one-woman show with a lot of lines and a lot of music. And we have 3 days. They were super generous with me. Prior to rehearsal, I had a couple of Zoom rehearsals with the director and the music director. So that was super helpful. I was able to look at some of the keys in the music because my range is different than Ife's. So we needed to make some adjustments there. So that was super helpful to do that ahead of time. And then also Henry, just the director, a wonderful human and artist, he literally carved out time for me during the tech process where he could have been at home sleep or what. He was like, look, there was a couple times he came in early before tech just so that he can work with me a little bit. I think that's kind of unheard of. Like understudies don't get rehearsal time until the show opens. And so I was able to get pieces here and there, and that was so helpful. So they were just super generous in trying to make it happen for me, like extending their extra time, the time that, they could have been resting, they gave that to me. And so I'm so appreciative of that. My typical day though, once the show opens, I come to the theater. I have to report to the theater every day. I'm basically on standby. So I have a dressing room and I come in at call just like everybody else. I take my COVID test. And then I just wait until Ife enters the stage. And because it's a one-woman show and she only enters one time, she stays on stage the whole time, I pretty much can leave once she crosses the threshold, right? But in Shout Sister Shout, I was covering 2 people and I could not leave until one of my characters made their last entrance. So that was the wedding scene, which is like the second to the last scene of the play. And so, yeah, so that's typically, that's been what my contract is. Some days I do have understudy rehearsal just so that, I'm ready and I can run the show. Yeah. And I'm in the book studying. I'm thinking about Fannie. I'm thinking about her life. I'm thinking about what Cheryl intended. I'm thinking about Ife's performance and how there's certain things that I want to make sure that I'm in line with for tech purposes. Because when I come in, I don't want to confuse anybody with what I'm doing. I want the show to run as smoothly as possible, So that's kind of my typical day as an understudy, kind of like some rehearsal a couple of times a week, and then also reporting to the theater every night. And
well, it's hard.
Being here.
To me, it's got to be hard not to hope with all that time you put in as an understudy that you're going to get to perform the role as you did in Fannie in January. With that, do you get a guaranteed, time on stage for the role, or is it just you're always on standby for the entire run? And then other than illness or something else like that, what other circumstances would an understudy be kind of thrust on into that position?
So for this particular contract, I did negotiate a guarantee. I don't think that, again, like I'm still kind of new to the understudy side. I don't think that there is like a standard union rule that the understudy gets to go up. I did go up twice for Shout Sister Shout as well. But this particular contract, I did negotiate one guaranteed show because it is a lot of work, and, you don't know. And then Ife arrived and we talked and and of course, I saw the video and just the nature of this show, how hard it is. Ife said, look, I was really particular about needing an understudy that could go on because of how vocally challenging this show is, how emotionally challenging this show is.
Sound effect.
And so she said she was really particular about saying, look, the understudy that you get, she's going to go on. So get somebody that can handle it, basically. And so, yeah, I've been super grateful to be able to go on. I've been on 3 times. I'm not on schedule to go on for the rest of the run. We're in our last week. But I'm here for Ife if she needs me. So yeah, there's illness. That's why an understudy would go on. Sometimes people have conflicts that they, prior to signing the contract, they told the theater, hey, I have this other thing, this gig or whatever that's on my calendar meeting, or my child is graduating. I need to be there. And so in those cases, the understudy would go up as well too, if, for whatever reason, the principal can't go on. And, I say, who are we to say what is a good or bad reason? We learned from COVID that it's about self-care. It's about family. And we've lost a lot of time focusing just on the work and not on also our village and our community and our family.
And I hate to say, thankfully, in the same sentence that I'm going to mention COVID in, but thankfully, due to the circumstances around COVID, understudies and swings are finally starting to get a little bit more recognition. I know there's the Hugh Jackman speech and all of that, and a lot of people followed suit, but there's stories from Broadway and across the country of understudies and swings stepping in at the last minute and taking on things that they had not expected and keeping the show going, which has been amazing.
That deserves an amen. Been too long.
Understudies and swings, Swing Nation, Understudy Nation. Now that I'm a part of it, I mean, I used to say this prior, and now, especially now that I'm a part of it, because I've had understudies going for me, and I needed them to, and I felt so good knowing that the show wasn't going to get canceled because I didn't feel well. That's a lot of pressure to have to go up sick because you don't want the show to be canceled, right? And it just feels so good to know that you have somebody that's in your corner, that's ready at a drop of a dime to go up. Understudies in Swing Nation, they're superheroes. I'm glad to join that. Like, I feel super blessed to join the ranks of understudies and swings. And I also feel like it has kind of flexed and like grew like a certain muscle that I didn't have before, in terms of like quick learning and being just adaptable, just like at the drop of a dime. And I think it's made me a better performer. I think I would think so. Yeah. I always, like, it's so funny because, like I said, in the past, I've always been like, understudies are superheroes. They need to be as good or better than the principal because the show should not suffer. Like, they should be able to come in and do the thing. And it's the theater's responsibility to hire the right people for understudies. They should expect that the understudy might have to go on, and that the integrity of the show does not fall because someone else stepped into the role. The principal got the role for a reason. Right. And they are the person that needs to be the point man or point woman or point person. They gel well with the other cast. I mean, there's so many things that go into casting. And the understudy should be somebody that can slide right in and seamlessly transition and make and continue on with the integrity of the show. And for that, like, you gotta be a heavy hitter to do that. You have to be a heavy hitter.
And you've also got to have a personality that allows you to be kind of in the background until you're called upon. It's like the football player who goes through all the practices but sits on the bench for that one time that you go out and to keep a positive attitude and be a contributor the whole time it takes a special person, I think, for that.
Yes. And it's, what's beautiful is our castmates normally, under normal circumstances, they really welcome the understudy. And when the understudy has to go up, your castmates are there to what we call, shove with love. You might be in the wrong spot, so they might like hip bump you over and into your light. And there's like, I remember of course, this particular show is a lot smaller than Shout Sister Shout. It's a one-woman show. We do have 3 musicians who have been so just like loving towards me. And in Shout Sister Shout, I think it was like 18, 19 cast members. And when I tell you that they literally like lifted me up the entire time through rehearsal. And then when it was time for me to go on, they were so excited for me. And I was like, wow, for this being my first time, because I didn't know what it was going to be like being on this side. And they really just showed me so much love and encouragement. And I was successful in that, I think, because my castmates were there for me to say, hey, Shaunice, we got your back. Number one, we know you got this. And we got your back just in case, because it's a lot of material. And we're here for you. And you're going to look good. We're going to make sure you look good out there.
Well, we're sure you look good as Fannie. So glad that you got to go on. I mean, what a dynamic woman, and what a dramatic life she had, and what an impact she had. How did you prepare specifically to play her in this unique biographical way where she's telling her life story?
So Christine Sumption is our dramaturg, and she is fabulous. She does a lot of Cheryl's pieces. She's really good at pulling a lot of archival material and videos and just things that we can study, just all kinds of resources. So I definitely deep dove into the packet that Christine sent over. And then also, I knew she was prior to the production too, as well. But I also just went online and just researched her. And I personally love playing Black women historical figures. I love bringing their story to life. I want to honor them because a lot of times I don't think they get the just due, the honor that they're supposed to, and so I want to honor them. And when I take on a role like that, I'm just real particular about how I want to make sure that they are seen in a way as they're human, number one, and that they have multiple layers. They're not just one thing. A lot of times, when you have somebody who is well known, you just know them for that one thing and you think that's all they are, but they're a human being and they have so many layers. And so when you're doing a biography, I want to show all those layers. I've been blessed to play Hattie McDaniel, of course, Shout Sister Shout, Rosetta Tharpe. Oh goodness, I'm trying to think of all of them. Ida B. Wells. Oh gosh, who else? Barbara Jordan. Let's see, a little Mahalia Jackson. And so all of these women, to me, are my aunties, my grandmothers, my mother's friends. There's something about them, and they're complex women. And I want the world to see that they're just not this one thing. They love, they want to be loved. They had the audacity to be like, let me let you know anyway. You know what I mean? Which is a huge thing, especially back then, as being a woman and being Black. I just want to honor them. And when I got the call from the rep and the rep asked me to understudy, I was like, okay, I want to honor Fannie and I want to portray her in a way that is truthful. And so that people will see that she, number one, sacrificed a lot. She gave a lot and she sacrificed a lot so that we can have a better life today. Like, she changed the trajectory of our existence here in America with her works. And it wasn't easy, you know, and I'm sure there were some days that she was just like, ooh, I want to stop. But then she was like, but I have a call I have to do, you know. And so I just wanted to honor that. That was the biggest thing. It was like, honor Fannie, honor Cheryl. These are her words. Honor Ife, because she originated the role. She brought the role to life. And I call her the gold standard, honey. She is the gold standard. And a lot of what I do is because I'm inspired by what I'm watching every night, you know, watching Ife. And so I want to honor her too, because this is just as much, I say her baby, as it is Cheryl's baby, because she was there from the very beginning, you know. And I know she wants to see Fannie portrayed in a way that is whole as well.
Yeah, multidimensional. That was one of the neat things is, you know, watching in preparation for seeing the show, I watched some YouTube videos on her, and you know, you see a lot of the activism, but what you saw in the show, you saw her as a mother, you saw her as a wife. So those are some really humorous, just heartfelt segments about her you know, her husband and the things that he sacrificed and his dedication to her, you know, as a potential politician, as a friend. And it really did, like you said, multidimensional, really fleshed her out. And it was really neat to see Ife portray that in all of her glory.
It's just a beautiful thing. I think sometimes when we think back on these historical figures, we think, oh, those people are special and on a pedestal. So I'm ordinary. I would never be able to be a change maker or to do anything that is huge or that could change or inspire people. But actually, you can. She was a person. She was a person just like me, just like you. She was an ordinary person that did extraordinary things. Everybody that you see out here, we're all ordinary people living an extraordinary life, if that's the case. Even if we were born into that, we're still human beings, you know? And there are some things that as humans, we're all connected and we do all the same because we're human. And she got a call. God spoke to her and said, this is what you need to be doing. This is what I want you to do. This is your mission. This is your life work. And what she did was said yes. And that's what makes her extraordinary. She said, yes, I will. She did, and she continued to do. And so I want young people, like when they come see the show or see any biography of someone that is inspiring or has done something wonderful, you know, or has changed our life, our culture. I want them to know, yeah, you can do it too. That is not it's not above you. Because a lot of times we look where it's like, I can't, I'm just Shaunice from Skyway. I'm just regular. I can't. She was from Sunflower County. She talks about the type of education she had. She only went as far as the 6th grade. She had people telling her, you know, look, you're not smart enough. Thank you. Did we have a tech rehearsal for this? Because I think it's coming at the wrong time.
I'm going to get on our producer about this.
But yeah, she had people telling her, yeah, look, you're not educated enough. When she went to that Democratic convention, they didn't want her to talk. She wasn't the Barbara Jordan. She didn't have the degrees, you know, and the debate skills. But she had a heart. She knew what she was talking about. And as she says, I got good sense.
Yeah, there was so much that you could take away from that. I took away from that show that transcends race and transcends, sex, because there's it's things that, you know, like the suffrage movement, when they talked about, and I knew this from knowing a little bit about the suffrage movement, but the women's suffrage movement, they dispatched the black side of it because they didn't think the white suffragettes didn't think they'd get enough traction, you know, with and that was covered in the show. I mean, there's so much in the show that was covered.
A lot of history.
And when you bring history to life in this way, and it makes it so much more accessible, so much more enjoyable, and it's
and relatable on a human level.
Yeah, for sure. And the idea that none of us can be free until really everybody's free. I mean, that was a kind of a string that held a lot of the theme of the show together. So if you've mentioned a few things, what would you say is maybe the one thing that we can take away, or the audience could take away from Fannie to apply to our lives?
I think what I just said before, that we all have the ability to inspire, to change, whether it's on a community level, or it's just in our church home, or in our city, or national level, or on a world stage. But we all have something in us that has the capacity to inspire other people. And it's just, are we going to take the call? Like, are we going to, like, when we know, or we feel like, oh my gosh, wait, is this my mission to do this thing, whatever it is? I feel like my mission is to be a storyteller, and to capture the essence of, like I said, these beautiful Black women from yesteryear that really changed the trajectory of America. I feel like that's my call. And so I'm trying to do that. And hopefully I'm inspiring people along the way. As I'm telling their story, as I'm paying homage to them, as I'm honoring their existence and what they did for us, so that they're not forgotten. So we all have something. There's something that we're called to do. And it is a challenge sometimes knowing, is this the thing that I'm called to do? Sometimes we want to do certain things, right? But maybe we're not called for it. Or maybe we're called for it, but we don't want to do it. We're like, I don't want to be a part of that.
It's usually that one.
You know how that is? That's too much work. I don't want to. But we're all called to do something. And we all have the capacity to inspire. And so that's what baby, I got choreography for it. Okay. So that is, I think, what we're all called to do. We're all called to do something, and we can inspire. Okay, y'all, I'm gonna have to go stop this. I don't know how. I think I'm gonna shut the door.
You're fine. Our next question is just about what the future holds for Fannie the show. It's been around the country in varying manifestations, I guess you could say, and you're in your last week at the Rep. Where does Fannie go from here?
Well, I don't know for sure, but I have heard that there are talks of wanting the show to eventually get to Mississippi, so that her people in her area can see it. And I would love to see that as well. I would love to see this show even get into Sunflower County and really inspire the people, so they know that somebody from your community did this. I want those little kids to know somebody from your neighborhood did this. And so that's my hope, and that's what I've heard. I don't know if anything is concrete, but I know that initially when the show was being written, the idea of this show getting to Mississippi is something that they have thought about and talked about. And I think that would be wonderful.
Oh yeah.
It would be wonderful. Yeah.
Well, so much of that community helped her in her work. She talks so much about that, and the farming they did and all those types of things. So how wonderful for that community to be able to feel that sense of pride.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and it's a dynamic show as well. I call it edutainment because we learn so much in the process, and we're entertained as well. And it's just a great way. It's a great way for young people to learn about historical figures. And so I pray that this show has a life and it goes on, because it's spectacular, and it's time for Fannie to get her real due.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So along the same lines, what is next for Shaunice, and where can our listeners go and learn more about what you're up to in your career?
What's next for me is as long as everything goes well, because in this time and day, it's all like, so we were gonna do this, but now
COVID willing, yeah.
The Watsons go to Birmingham at the Seattle Children's Theater. It should be my next show, so hopefully that will happen. And that also was written by Cheryl L. West. And I've done a couple of readings of that particular script. It's a lovely script. It's programmed for young people. And of course, it has all the goodness that Cheryl can put in a script. It's her signature stuff. Like, it's so good. And yeah, it's supposed to go up in the spring at the Seattle Children's Theater. It's written from the book, The Watsons Go to Birmingham, and it's about a family in Michigan that travel down to Alabama to visit their grandmother. And while they're down there, the bombing of the 4 little girls at the Baptist church happens while these children are in town visiting their grandmother. And it looks a lot at trauma and how trauma affects young people and young minds. And then also how how children can take an intangible thing and put something that appears more tangible to it so that they can process and understand the trauma. So like when we hear kids talk about the boogeyman or monster in my closet or under my bed, sometimes they're manifesting something because maybe they've experienced some kind of trauma, but they can't, that it's a feeling. So they can't touch it, they can't see it. So let me put it on something that is more physical. It's a monster. It's something I can see or say. I can call it. I can call it a name. I could call it a thing. It's, in this particular script, it's about a whirlpool in a lake that sucks you down. You know how they have there's a little, I think, a whirlpool in a lake that, if you go swimming, it'll pull you under. And so this young guy, this kid, he is the trauma from the church bombing and the feeling of fear and what that means. He's transferred it to this, don't go to the lake. There's this thing at the lake that will suck you in and take you. And he's, and I think it's just Cheryl being a genius. Cheryl being a genius. But kids are, kids have a very unique mind. And sometimes, human mind is unique. So sometimes when you can't touch something, you transfer it to something that is physical that you can see and name it so that it'll make sense for you,
Sounds like a powerful show. We will definitely keep in touch on that one. We'd love to see it.
Yes.
And coming in the spring of 2022.
Yes.
Excellent. It's a powerful book. I do know that. It's making its way into a lot of public schools, mine included, taking the place of many classic stories like To Kill a Mockingbird, things like that. And I'm really glad to see it taking the stage. That'll be very powerful for people of all ages, I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah. Like I said, I've done a couple of readings of the script, and it's great. The young people are going to love it. The adults that bring them are going to love it. More edutainment. Mm-hmm. So I'm super excited.
Seattle Children's Theater. They're at Seattle Center, right?
Yes.
Excellent. Now, do you have, are you active on social media? Is there a Twitter feed that we can follow and share with our listeners to keep up on all your fun activities and next upcoming projects?
Yes. I have a Facebook page, artist page is Shaunyce Omar, the exact way I spell my name. I have a Twitter, but I tweet like every 6 months, maybe.
So Facebook it is.
With it. Yeah, I usually put my things up on Facebook, and anything that's like going on that's happening in my career, I try to put it there. I'm not that good at like marketing myself though.
We'll do a little for you then. How's that?
Thank you.
Yeah. We'll share with all our listeners. I'm sure they're going to want to follow, like I said, your activities, especially with new shows coming along. And we just appreciate your time. Appreciate all the information about your work as an understudy, and really just digging into Fannie's life. And we're so glad that you had the chance to do this role. It obviously meant a lot to you.
Yes. It's she is me and I am her. And like I said, I just want to honor her. I want to honor her. I want people to know that she was human and that she did something extraordinary because she said yes. And and that we can be inspired by that and do the same.
Absolutely. Well, Shaunice, thank you so much for your time again today. Greg's review of the show is available on our Facebook page. Again, you got another weekend here to catch the show. Get out there and see it. We loved it. And this is, we've made it just even more personal, being able to connect with you. So best of luck in all your future endeavors. We'll hopefully see you at the Seattle Children's Theater here soon. And thank you again for your time today.
Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. Our pleasure.
Bye.
All right. That's a wrap.
Okay.
Thank you.